Hello, all you freedom-loving people. President Trump reignited the possibility of federalizing D.C. He also called for the immediate resignation of Intel CEO, and the DOJ charged an active duty soldier for allegedly attempting to transmit national defense information to Russia. Okay, let's get into it. Washington, D.C. was once again the scene of a criminal incident over the weekend that has shocked the nation. Edward Korstein, a young engineer just 19 years old, was severely injured when he was assaulted by 10 teenagers while trying to stop a carjacking from robbing a female driver. He was rushed to the hospital with his face covered in blood. The teenager is one of the early members of Elon Musk's DOJ team, known online as Big Balls. The recent incident once again put the hardcore teenager's name on social media, but in a harrowing way. According to the police report, Korstein and his girlfriend saw the suspects approach and made a comment about taking the vehicle. For her safety, Korstein pushed his girlfriend into the car and shut the door to shield her from the approaching mob. The 19-year-old was assaulted by 10 juvenile thugs near his car after he shielded his girlfriend. Police officers who were patrolling the area noticed the incident and stepped out of their patrol vehicle. Most of the teenagers fled on foot. However, 2 of the assailants were stopped and arrested after being identified by Korstein. Both of those arrested are 15 years old. The incident occurred in DuPont Circle, a prominent commercial and diplomatic neighborhood in downtown Washington. President Trump has expressed extreme outrage over the incident. With a photo of Korstein after he was beaten bloody by the mob of teens, President Trump wrote, "Crime in Washington, D.C. is totally out of control. Local youths and gang members, some only 14, 15, and 16 years old, are randomly attacking, mugging, maiming, and shooting innocent citizens at the same time knowing that they will be almost immediately released. They're not afraid of law enforcement because they know nothing ever happens to them, but it's going to happen now. The law in D.C. must be changed to prosecute these minors as adults and lock them up for a long time, starting at the age 14. President Trump says the federal government will step in and take over the city's law enforcement system if Washington city government fails to clean up its act. He stated, Washington, D.C. must be safe, clean, and beautiful for all Americans and, importantly, for the world to see. If D.C. doesn't get its act together and quickly, we will have no choice but to take federal control of the city and run this city how it should be run and put criminals on notice that they're not going to get away with it anymore." Korstein's former DOJ boss, Elon Musk, joined in the president's criticism. In a post on X, he wrote, "It's time to federalize D.C." And President Trump continued to threaten a federal takeover on Wednesday. President Trump told reporters in the Oval Office, "We're considering it, yeah, because the crime is ridiculous, and that includes bringing in the National Guard, maybe very quickly, too." U.S. Attorney for D.C., Jareen Pirro, said in a Wednesday interview with Fox News that the problem of youth violence across the country is rising.
Youth violence is on the rise, not just in D.C., but across the country. And if you think that these kids need to be coddled and they need to be hugged, they need to have consequences, they need to understand that enough is enough, that we're going to put them in jail or some kind of youth rehabilitation detention facility and not allow the D.C. Council, one of whom I just recently indicted, to take cover for these kids. It's time to end it. That's what the president wants. That's what we're going to do.
So what do you think about D.C. being federalized, and how are things in your state? Are the local officials doing enough to keep it safe? President Trump also announced on Wednesday that the U.S. will impose a 100% tariff on imports of semiconductors and chips. He said, but if you're building in the United States of America, there's no charge even though you're building and you're not producing yet. That's what he announced to reporters in the Oval Office of the White House on Wednesday afternoon. Apple CEO Tim Cook was present also at the time. He said, but the good news for companies like Apple is if you're building in the United States or have committed to build, without question, committed to build in the United States, there will be no charge. Apple has pledged to invest an additional $100 billion in the U.S. over the next 4 years. This investment is in addition to the $500 billion the tech giant had previously committed to invest. Several top chip makers, including Taiwan Semiconductor, NVIDIA, and Global Foundries, have already pledged to manufacture some of their products in the U.S. President Trump has previously said that the policy of imposing new tariffs on chips and semiconductors could begin as early as next week. The new tariff measure, which targets specific industries, suggests that President Trump is stepping up pressure on U.S. companies to manufacture their products on U.S. soil. The Kremlin said on Thursday that President Putin will meet with President Trump in the coming days. Putin's foreign affairs advisor, Yuri Ushakov, told reporters, at the suggestion of the American side, it has been agreed in principle to hold a bilateral meeting at the highest level in the coming days. The target date for a summit is next week. However, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio warned that neither Russia nor Ukraine were ready at this point to meet together with President Trump. Rubio told Fox Business Network, I think what we have is a better understanding of the conditions under which Russia would be prepared to end the war. He believes that the difference between what the two sides can accept is too far. Rubio also said, if we can get what the Ukrainians will accept and what the Russians will accept close enough, then I think there's the opportunity for the president to have a meeting that includes both Putin and Zelensky to try to close this thing out. So we've got to get closer in that regard. He emphasized that President Trump's intervention would only occur once negotiations had reached a mature stage. The White House also emphasized that a new round of secondary sanctions targeting Russia's trading partners is expected to be implemented as scheduled on Friday, August 8th. And today, Putin was holding talks with the president of the United Arab Emirates. Talking with reporters, Putin said that the UAE is one of the suitable places to hold the meeting with President Trump. Putin said that he was not on the whole against meeting Ukrainian President Zelensky, but he added that certain conditions should be created for such a meeting. Putin also stressed that the current situation was far from being ready for it. And in other news regarding Russia today, the Justice Department announced that it had arrested and charged an active duty soldier with allegedly attempting to transmit national defense information to Russia. Assistant Attorney General for National Security John A. Eisenberg said in a statement that Taylor Adam Lee is accused of seeking to transmit sensitive national defense information to Russia regarding the M1 Abrams tank. The M1 Abrams tank is the primary battle tank of the United States. Based on court documents, Lee is an active duty U.S. Army soldier with a top secret security clearance who was stationed in Texas. According to prosecutors, Lee attempted to give the Russian Defense Ministry information about U.S. military defenses between May 2025 and the time that he was charged. In addition to the alleged breach of the Espionage Act of 1917, which makes it a federal crime, Lee was also charged with violating the Arms Export Control Act for allegedly trying to export technical data without a license. Sometime in June, Lee allegedly sent technical information about the M1 Abrams tank and said that he wanted to provide assistance to Russia. During a meeting in July, Lee allegedly gave an SD card with documents and other information about the M1 Abrams and U.S. military combat operations to an individual that he believed was working on behalf of the Russian government. Reportedly, the documents contained technical data that Lee was not authorized to provide, and some of the documents were marked controlled, unclassified information. Recently, a version of the M1 Abrams tank has been provided by the U.S. military to Ukrainian forces. Officials said that Lee was attempting to swap the sensitive information for Russian citizenship. At least 7 volcanoes have erupted in Russia's far east since a powerful 8.8 magnitude earthquake struck the region last week. The Institute of Volcanology and Seismology of the Far East branch of the Russian Academy of Sciences has pointed out that this is the first time in nearly 300 years that multiple volcanoes have awakened in tandem, making it a rare parade of volcanic eruptions. Volcanoes currently erupting include Klyachevskoy, Kamchatka's highest active volcano, and Krashenikov, which is experiencing its first lava flow in nearly 600 years. This volcano volcano is less than 150 miles from the epicenter, according to the U.S. Geology Survey. The Kamchatka Peninsula has 29 active volcanoes, making it one of the most volcanically active regions in the world. During the eruption, 3 dormant volcanoes were reawakened. Whether more eruptions will occur remains to be seen. Today, President Trump called for the immediate resignation of Intel CEO Lip-Bu Tan. President Trump expressed growing Republican concerns about the executive's alleged ties to Chinese firms linked to the People's Liberation Army. The People's Liberation Army is the military wing of the Chinese Communist Party. President Trump wrote on Truth Social, "The CEO of Intel is highly conflicted and must resign immediately. There is no other solution to this problem. Thank you for your attention to this problem." Intel, headquartered in California, plays a critical role in U.S. economic and national security policy. This is because Intel is a leading manufacturer of cutting-edge chips that are used in defense systems, data centers, and artificial intelligence. President Trump's call comes 2 days after Senate Intelligence Committee Chairman Tom Cotton sent a letter to Intel's board raising national security concerns over Tan's business associations and tenure at Cadence Design Systems. Cadence Design Systems is a company that last week pleaded guilty to illegally exporting chip design tools to a Chinese military university. Tan served as CEO of Cadence from 2009 to 2021. This period of time overlaps with the time of the violations. These violations included selling advanced U.S. origin electronic design automation software to China's National University of Defense Technology, which is a sanctioned institution that is involved in military supercomputing and nuclear simulation. The exports were routed through a wholly owned subsidiary that is based in Shanghai. The Justice Department stated that Cadence will pay more than $140 million in penalties and forfeitures as part of the plea agreement. Tan was born in Malaysia and raised in Singapore before moving to the United States, where he earned degrees from MIT and the University of San Francisco. He previously worked for several semiconductor companies, including China-based SMIC. A new infectious disease has recently emerged in China. This is a type of chikungunya that is transmitted by mosquitoes. When mosquitoes feed on infected people and then bite other people, the virus is spread. Infected people often experience high fever, severe joint pain, muscle pain, rash, nausea, and vomiting. And in severe cases, the eyes, their heart, and nervous system may be affected. Individuals may have persistent joint pain for up to 18 months. Although the lethality rate is only 1 in 1,000, the trouble is that there's no effective medicine. According to official Communist Party sources, more than 7,000 people have been infected in the southern province of Guangdong alone. The Chinese Communist Party has a tradition of concealing outbreaks, though. Following their previous practice, it's a conservative estimate to multiply the official figure by 10. The CDC has issued a level 2 alert for an outbreak of chikungunya virus in the Guangdong province. Chikungunya cases have also been spreading throughout Europe, according to the European Center for Disease Prevention and Control. Since the beginning of 2025, approximately 240,000 cases and 90 deaths have been reported in 16 countries and territories, including the Americas, Africa, Asia, and Europe, the health agency reported in July. Last year, Vietnam cracked down on what is believed to be the largest financial fraud case in Southeast Asian history, and possibly even the largest in global history. The case involves an amount exceeding $400.1 billion US dollars, which is approximately 10% of Vietnam's entire national GDP. A financial fraud of such a massive scale clearly involved highly professional methods. The Vietnamese government may owe some of its success in cracking this case to the Fed. This is not a recent case. We are bringing up this case as a side note to our series on the conflicts between the Fed and the White House. Let's first take a look at the mastermind behind the fraud, Trong My Lan, who was formerly Vietnam's richest woman. Trong My Lan was born in Saigon, Vietnam in October of 1956. At the age of 16, she started doing business with her mother, selling cosmetics and small hair accessories at the local market. This is the business she ran for 20 years. Vietnam in 1972 was desperately poor due to its having just finished the Vietnam War, and it was globally isolated. Back then, Vietnam's economic system was a planned economy. The inflation rate was as high as 400%. Under these circumstances, it was difficult for Truong's cosmetic business to grow significantly. However, her experiences during this period honed her negotiation skills, her ability to read people, and her ability to balance interpersonal relationships. It must be said that she had remarkable talent in these areas. Combined with her innate talent and years of practice, these abilities were crucial in Vietnam's market environment decades ago, which was characterized by an imperfect system and the existence of a large gray economy. This was also the key to her future success. In 1986, Vietnam embarked on a path of reform and opening up. Investments from South Korea, Taiwan, and Hong Kong began to flood into Vietnam. Western companies also began to flood in, seeking Vietnam's cheap labor. Truong My Lan seized the opportunity, and in 1991, at the age of 34, she founded the Van Tin Phat Group. So, what was the situation in Vietnam at that time? In 1990, Vietnam's GDP per capita was only $100. Compare this to Japan in Asia, where the GDP per capita was $25,000 at that time. That means Vietnam was 0.4% of Japan. And that means Vietnam had huge room for development. Over the next 3 decades, Vietnam's economy rose to prominence and Truong's business soared along with it. In order to attract foreign investment, the Vietnamese government passed a foreign investment law that offered substantial tax incentives for foreign investment. This attracted multinational companies like Samsung and LG to invest in Vietnam. With her excellent interpersonal skills, Truong was able to get the distributionship of LG in Vietnam. At the same time, she started to enter the restaurant and hotel business. In 1997, after the Asian financial crisis, Shanghai, which had been renamed Ho Chi Minh City, began an old city renovation project. Truong had a keen sense for business opportunities, and she seized this chance. She established connections with the government officers, and she obtained the contracts for the development of several landmark projects, such as Shanghai Times Square and the Windsor Hotel. As a result, she rose to become the real estate queen of Vietnam. In Vietnam's economic climate at the time, she was able to get her hands on such popular projects, and it was natural that a lot of power and money-grade deals were involved. This was the norm in the Vietnamese market at the time and not something special. These projects propelled Truong My Lan and her trading company into a period of rocket speed growth. Her projects were spread throughout Ho Chi Minh City. It's estimated that she has no fewer than 1,000 real estate projects under her name. If the story ended here, Truong My Lan would be a successful real estate entrepreneur who seized an opportunity. Her achievements might be written into Vietnamese textbooks as a business legend, or at least passed down among her descendants. However, it's difficult to control one's desires, especially when the object of desire is someone as capable as Truong My Lan. Her path to success has been so smooth that it seems to have given her the illusion that as long as she continues on this path, she can have the whole world. We'll continue this story tomorrow. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember to leave a comment below the video. This is really helping us to be seen all around the world. The more people who watch Front Page, the more freedom-loving people the world will have. And please hit the like button and hit the notification bell after subscribing. And please share this video with your friends and family because everybody deserves to know the truth.